Are you fishing the wrong rod for forward-facing sonar? Now, there's a lot of techniques that you can use for forward-facing sonar, and a lot of people think you just need one rod, you need one medium spinning rod, and you can throw a minnow all day, and that's forward-facing sonar fishing. That is not it. That is not it. So you might already have a couple of the rods that you need, and maybe you've got a couple of the rods that you don't have yet. You don't have them because you don't know that you need them. So we're going to go ahead and talk to you about the minnow. Here's the minnow. If you're going to fish a minnow, whether it's a little minnow, medium-sized minnow, anytime you have a single hook on the minnow, the Icon forward-facing sonar medium lure is probably the right way to go. You've got a decent amount of backbone, but it's also a soft tip. Just kind of your classic medium fast action is what you're looking at right here. Anywhere from 8 to 14 pound leader in front of that minnow, and then you're going to have 12 to 16, even up to 20 pound braided line. Shorter leader is what you're going to be wanting on that minnow. We're not going to get completely dialed into that because there's minnow shaking, there's Demiki rigging, which is dropping straight under the boat and then holding that lure perfectly still. That's best in cold water. The minnow itself probably better in cooler water conditions, but anytime that the bass are feeding on bait fish, that's when that minnow shaking or Demiki rigging is really going to be key. But this is kind of hard to beat that rod right there. It's 7 foot 4 inch, anywhere from 7 foot to 7.4. I personally like, because when you're throwing that thing, you need to be able to make a real easy cast to get it a long distance. And then when you hook up with those fish, you don't want to set the hook, you just want to reel into them, lean back, and you're going to catch a high percentage of those. But for me, the minnow is only about 20% of what I use for forward-facing sonar. A couple other baits that catch the majority of my fish with forward-facing sonar. Number one, drop shot. Drop shot is far and away the number one for me. Probably catch close to half of my fish on forward-facing sonar with that drop shot. Just a classic Missile Baits magic worm, foot and a half leader, nothing crazy. And we're talking smallmouth, largemouth, spotted bass, all of the above. Variety of colors depending on the situation, but that's when you need a rod that's a little more dialed in for drop shot. This is the Cashion rods Icon John Cruz drop shot rod, designed specifically for drop shotting. 7 foot 4 inch, but it's also got that counterbalance weight, because when you fish the drop shot, typically you have that rod tip up high so you can feel what's going on down there. We're going to have probably a 15 to 20 foot fluorocarbon leader, anywhere from 6 pound test all the way up to 12. If I'm fishing around these kind of trees behind me, around the bank, around cover laydowns, I'm going to bump up to 10 or 12. If I'm going to be fishing off the bank, drop down to probably 8 pound on average. If I'm getting real clear water, real highly pressured fish, I will drop down to 6 pound on my drop shot, especially those smallmouth and stuff that you're seeing on forward-facing sonar. That drop shot rod, probably going to be my number one go-to rod for forward-facing sonar. But we just saw it not that long ago with the Bassmaster Classic, the 2025 Easton Fothergill. Put the work in, did some serious damage with the Neco rig. Neco rig is when you have a worm, a straight worm that's rigged, just hooked in the middle like a wacky style, but you're going to have a nail weight in one side, and it's going to fall straight down, and then it's going to have that cat-like action, because Neco means cat in Japanese. But very, very similar setup to the drop shot for me. Leader's almost the same. The main line's almost exactly the same, and the rod is the same as that drop shot. So it's real easy for me to be able to kind of go back and forth between the two. I'll tell you when you want to go with one versus the other. Cashion Icon John Cruz. It's 7 foot 4 inch. It's got a real soft tip to it, but it also has some backbone. A very, very unique blank that we use in this rod. And then you don't want to make sure you have a good high-speed spinning reel. I don't like super slow spinning reels. I like something that has a little bit of retrieve rate to it. I think that's key. This is the 7 GX reel. Really, smooth drag is also essential as well, so you just want to make sure you have a good smooth drag system in that. But when that Neco rig is so good when you're not around thick cover, because as you can see with that exposed hook, even if you have a you know, the ability to put a little weed guard on the front, you're still not, it's still almost an exposed hook. You throw it around a brush pile, you are asking to get that thing hooked. I mean, it is almost guaranteed that you're gonna hang it in a brush pile if you let it go all the way down. But if you're finding those fish around, you know, not heavy rock, but light rock or hard bottom, kind of isolated, let those fish, throw it out there, let it drop to where they can see it. And then a lot of times they follow it right down, and then they'll get after it. You don't want to like do anything crazy. You let that thing go to the bottom, and if they're following it, let them follow it. You just want to give some real light shakes to it, barely pulling that thing. All you're wanting to do is just kind of make that worm stand up on the bottom and give it that little wacky worm style action. I've got this one down more towards the lower end, but you know, typically you're going to be putting it kind of towards the middle of the worm. It's a Missile Baits magic worm, whether you're using a Missile Baits quiver or a trick worm or whatever your Neco worm is, all going to be very similar situations. But again, just like with the drop shot, the Neco rig, lighter line can be a little bit of an advantage on highly pressured fish or water that's really clear. That can be key. So that's the big difference. If you have cover around drop shot, if you don't have that cover around, you want to stay with the Neco rig. A lot of times when I'm forward facing fishing, I've got both. I've got the Neco and the drop shot. Sometimes with the drop shot, you can put a little heavier weight, get it down there quicker, but that's not always the case. Be careful with that drop shot about going too heavy with the weight. Read the fish. You go too heavy with the weight, you can spook those fish as that weight falls too fast. I've seen times when you drop back to a quarter versus a half ounce, that quarter falling a little bit slower doesn't spook them. They think it's more natural as that bait's coming down. That bait comes down, they see it, they follow it down, then you catch those fish. If that weight's going too fast, made the mistake myself, that weight's going down too fast, it kind of spooks them, they run off. I don't know if they think it's just not natural, what it is. I've seen times where the smallmouth love that fast fall. They see that fast fall and it's like they can't get to it quick enough. So let the fish tell you what they want. If you're using forward facing sonar, you can see both situations. But last but not least, probably 25% of my forward facing sonar fishing is done with a jerkbait. A jerkbait is a lot of fun. You're gonna want to have some wind or stained water to help out that jerkbait bite. If you got crystal calm, crystal clear skies, calm wind, the jerkbait's probably not what you want to have going on. This is a Spro McDart, very erratic jerkbait. I like an erratic jerkbait. Don't have to go super light on the line. I go 12 or 14 pound FC crank. That's right, the Sunline FC cranks, that's my preference. But you don't have to go super light, because the whole trick with the jerkbait is throwing it out there and jerking it along until those fish that you're targeting see the bait that you're throwing, and once they do, don't slow it down. Don't let them get a really good look at it, and then they're gonna, a lot of times they'll chase it, and then they'll get it. So don't think that if they come up and swipe at it once that they're done with it. A lot of times if you keep that thing moving, if you stop it, let them get a good look at it, not as much. Keep hammering that thing. But the rod is also key for the jerkbait. I like the Cashion Icon Topwater jerkbait rod. It's a 7-foot extra fast medium heavy action, but it's still really not that heavy of an action. As you can see, it's got a real soft tip. It's got a little bit of backbone, but that real soft tip. I'm gonna be making long casts a lot of times, and I'm gonna hammer down on those fish 3 or 4 jerks. And sometimes when you do that 3 or 4, then you're gonna hook, those fish are gonna run up there and snap it. and I want to make sure that I have enough backbone in that rod that I can lay into those fish and get those treble hooks buried, those gamakatsus buried in that fish's mouth. That's a big key. I like a higher speed reel, at least a 7-to-1. You can even use an 8-to-1. This is the 7 GF. You don't need to go super crazy with the jerkbait. Just make sure you have a little higher speed reel. Slower speeds, you're not going to be able to reel up the slack fast enough, and I think that can be a problem when you're jerkbait fishing, whether forward facing or not. Picking up that slack quick enough with your reel can be a problem. So there it is. Those are the rods that I use mainly for forward facing sonar. Yes, I do throw some glide baits, which I have back here on the deck for forward facing sonar. Yes, I do throw some big boot tail swim baits. What else do I have? Oh, I got one more little trick up my sleeve here. If I'm throwing small baits with treble hooks on there, like this little spoon right here, I'm gonna be throwing the forward facing sonar light lure. Anytime, you know, it's good for spy baits. Anything that's got a treble hook on it that you're throwing for forward facing sonar, that can be when you want that lighter action. You know, 6 to 10 pound leaders, you know, 10 to 12 pound braided line. That's when you're going to be going down to that light lure rod right there. So that's the last little caveat to the forward facing sonar rod. But there it is. Make sure that you're throwing the right rod for forward facing sonar. Make sure you're throwing the right baits for forward facing sonar. So pick up those Cashions, pick up the right baits, pick up the right line, and you're going to catch more fish.